progressed, Romans flocked to it. Women, long oppressed by patriarchal Rome, found respect and recognition. To everybody, men and women, rich and poor, Roman and non-Roman, Christianity offered a refuge from the chronic uncertainties of the era.
There's no doubt in my mind that Christianity saved the Roman Empire. At the end of the 3rd century, it gave it a new focus for unity, both religiously and ideologically. But Christianity is the glue that sticks the various parts of the Roman Empire together in the centuries after Constantine.
Christianity could hold the empire together for a while, but not forever. In the year 378 AD at Adrianople in modern Turkey, the Emperor Valens led his army into battle against Goths from Romania. It was time to teach the barbarians a lesson and make them submit to the might of Rome. Like Valerian before him, Valens marched into disaster. His legions were surrounded. The famous Roman discipline gave way. He and his army were massacred. It was Rome that had learned its lesson, and it was a bitter one. Rome could no longer rule by military might alone. She would have to negotiate with the barbarians. The truth was there were already as many Germanic tribespeople within the ranks of the Roman legions as opposing them. But now they wanted more. If they were good enough to fight Rome's wars, they deserved to share its power. But Romans didn't share power.
As beasts from men, as the dumb from those who speak, so the foolish heathen differs from the Roman. Rome stands alone in pride over barbarian lands. Prudentius.
That Roman pride was now taking a serious blow. Forced to accommodate the barbarians, Romans began to feel threatened. Intolerance and resentment grew.
The Goths are perfidious, the Alani rapacious lechers, the Saxons, Franks, and Arulians are wantonly cruel, and the Germans are alcoholics to a man. Salvian.
Special scorn was reserved for the Huns, the nomads from Central Asia who had pushed the other barbarians westward in the first place. They too now appeared on the frontiers of empire.
They are so monstrously ugly and misshapen that one might take them for two-legged beasts. They are totally ignorant of the difference between right and wrong, so it's impossible to make a truce with them. Like unreasoning beasts, they are at the mercy of the maddest impulses. Ammianus.
These attitudes didn't bode well for the future of interracial harmony in the empire. For centuries, barbarians had been humiliated and enslaved. They were tired of it. When Alaric, leader of the Goths, settled his people inside the northern frontier, he wanted a dignified coexistence with Rome. Alaric spoke Latin fluently, was well-read, and not about to be dismissed by pompous Romans.
We tend to think of the barbarians as a collection of Conan the Barbarian and his buddies coming across the frontier waving their double-handed axes. This is quite far from the truth. By the time that the barbarians come across the frontiers, they're beginning to be Romanized. Alaric, who sacked Rome in 410, did so because he was turned down for a job as a Roman general. What these people wanted first and foremost was a place within the empire for themselves, and when they didn't get it, they turned on the government of the emperors.
But Rome had still not learned its lesson. Instead of building diplomatic relations with the Goths, local governors systematically insulted, starved, and overtaxed them. Alaric sent letters of protest to the emperor. They were ignored. When Alaric and his people finally descended on Rome in 410 AD, it was not to rape and pillage, but to drive home his people's protests and demand the decent treatment they'd been promised. To his surprise, as his armies swept through the heart of the empire, there was hardly a Roman soldier in sight. The truth was, many Romans were no longer prepared to fight the barbarians. Some even welcomed them.
I tell you that the poor have been so robbed and downtrodden that many of them seek refuge with the enemy. They seek among the barbarians a Roman mercy because they cannot endure the barbarous mercilessness they find among the Romans. Salvian.
And so in the year 410, for the first time in almost 1,000 years, Romans awoke to find an enemy army camped just outside the city. They couldn't believe it. Alaric's demands were reasonable. All he wanted for his people was part of the Danube River Valley in what is now Austria. Rome refused. Furious with Rome's arrogance, Alaric laid siege to the city. In addition, he now demanded 5,000 pounds of gold, 3,000 pounds of silver, 4,000 silk tunics, 3,000 scarlet-dyed skins, and 3,000 pounds of pepper. "Will you leave us with nothing?" asked the Roman envoys. Alaric replied, "If you give us what we want, you can keep your lives." Rome held back, procrastinated, and in the end, Alaric lost patience. Barbarian slaves, delighted by the prospect of Rome's ruin, threw open the city gates. The Goths poured in and sacked the city. Proud Rome was finally brought to her knees.
It's inconceivable. Rome fallen? The city which subjugated the whole world, conquered? I am speechless with despair. What will have happened to our friends? I fear the whole world is faced with annihilation. Jerome.
Although the city of Rome was no longer the center of the empire, for Romans everywhere, seeing it sacked was an omen of catastrophe.
Diseases are spreading. Time surely is nearing its end. I foresee the massacre of all humanity. This surely is the twilight of the world. Ambrose.
Romans were now sure the apocalypse was at hand. Stories circulated that the mouths of volcanoes were getting bigger, ready for the souls of all the sinners they'd have to receive. Rome was now divided in half. The Eastern Empire remained strong, but as barbarians overran the West, Romans everywhere were terrified the end was at hand.
My soul shudders to recount the downfall of our age. The blood of Romans is being shed everywhere from Constantinople to the Alps. Women are raped. The whole empire is being sacked, pillaged, and plundered. Jerome.
But apocalyptic visions turned out to be untrue. Not only did the world not end, the barbarians didn't do much raping and plundering either. Goths, Visigoths, Vandals, and other German tribes streamed out of Central Europe and spread themselves throughout the Western Mediterranean. To everybody's surprise, they tried to live peacefully alongside the Romans. Paulinus was a wealthy Roman nobleman with huge estates near Bordeaux in modern France. When news arrived that an army of Goths was heading for his lands, he feared the worst and fled in terror for his life.